All right, welcome back, viewers. We have now the 1500 meters men's skaters.
The first two pairs are going to be on their own in order, unless if they break a record, then it will be official. After these first two pairs, it'll go into quartet. So these first two will be on their own, and we have Yakamanaka from Japan and Ben Donnelly on the outer.
And Ben Donnelly just recently came back from China Junior World Championships, where he was the champion of the competition. So he is coming back on a high, and he is going to be skating in this 1500 meter race.
So we might have some tired legs from that travel, but being the Junior World Champion, we expect big things from him in this race.
And off they go. And this Japanese skater here has a very good PB, so this should be a good matchup between Ben Donnelly and Yanamaka.
Ben's on the first outer here, as you can see, and so he's going to get a nice draft, hopefully, in this first lap of the race.
He is coached by Todd McClennance on the backstretch, and he is part of the team known as the Wrecking Crew, where it is an all-male team coached by Todd.
So they're pretty neck and neck coming into 2 laps to go. They both had a low 24-second opener, which is good, building up that speed.
This race is a very difficult race, but this is one of the races that Ben he strives in, and is one of the best races that he has. He competed in the World Cups this season in the 1500 meters, so we should be seeing a good race from him.
He was also part of the men's pursuit team, which won a medal at the first event here in Calgary.
Oh, and here we have a little bit of a crossover problem where Ben was coming out at the same time as Daichi. And so Daichi had to slow down a little bit to let Ben go ahead. So Ben is going to finish strong here on the inner.
It's always a good feeling going over top of a skater, because it means you're on a good one, especially when your PBs are similar. Here comes Ben looking nice and strong at the finish with a 1:45.68.
Which is a PB for Ben.
Great race for him coming off that big junior world competition and this last day of racing here. You can see Todd pumping his fist in the air, so you know his coach is happy with that, and I'm sure he is too.
Next up we have Olivier Jean and
Christopher Riki.
Oh, and that was a Canadian junior record for Ben Donnelly.
Wow, congrats to Ben and Todd for that amazing skate he just had right there. In this next pair, we have Olivier Jean on the outside, who is formerly known as one of the best short track skaters in Canada and in the world. Multiple medals on the World Cup circuit, at the Olympics, gold medal in the Vancouver relay with his teammates. He's against Christopher Riki, a great skater from Norway who just had a PB in his 1,000-meter yesterday, so this should be an exciting race.
And we just want to do a little shout out to Alex Bovero-Claw, who is watching his teammates live on the news feed. Christopher Riki is coming off a PB from yesterday's skate in the 1,000 meters, so he should be going after this race as well, so he can finish off his season on a high note.
He just opened in a high 23, which is pretty quick. You know, if you go out that fast, they're trying to get that speed and keep it going, hold on for the finish, and hope for that PB. Olivier has just come off quite a few marathons, racing over in Europe, as well as training short track in Montreal. He just got ahead of Riki there at the very middle of that straightaway, so hopefully that wasn't a crossover issue, but it's always hard to tell.
Olivier Jean skated in both the Fall and Winter World Cups, and he also competed in a few marathons in the Netherlands this winter. And I believe that he actually won a marathon in the Netherlands.
Riki with a 27.82 second lap. He's still on a pretty good time right here. He's coming into that last corner, just trying to keep his legs moving after that quick start he had.
As a sprinter, it's surprising he's looking so awesome right now, because usually there's a lot more hurt in the legs and you kind of fall apart technically, but Christopher is coming in strong. and finishes with a 1:48.20 for Christopher Riki, which is not a PB today. And for Olivier Jean, 1:52.63. You can see there was a little bit of hurt in his legs. He's done a lot of races this season, and it's hard to finish off coming into finale after having all of those races done throughout the season.
And Olivier just finished a whole bunch of testing at the Sports Center here in Calgary, getting ready for next season. So that race probably had a little bit more hurt in him than usual, but he's going to gear up this summer for some great races next year. Now we have the quads starting up. So in this first pair, we have Alexander from Norway and Emery Lehman from the U.S. on the outer. Behind them will be Danielle Dubray from Quebec on the inner and Kayan Kay from New Zealand on the outer. These top-seeded pairs are the ones with the fastest PBs, and so we should see some great races in these next couple pairs coming up.
This is a tough race to want to start off going fast because you know that there's going to be a lot of hurt at the end. So the skaters who are mentally prepared for this race and go off sprinting hard into that first 300 meters are the ones who are going to come out with a faster time at the end just because they're giving it their all.
Danielle Dubray is obviously Laurent Dubray's younger brother. Larry had a great end to this season. He's obviously looking up to his older brother and trying to get some good times posted here in those last races of the season.
These guys skating hard in this 1,500 meters. You need to build all these corners. A lot of training goes into the 1,500 meters during the summer and during the fall season where there's lots of volume on the ice and on the bike, and that goes into competing well here at the oval finale. Oh, and here we have the New Zealand skater standing up. Not quite sure why, but maybe he got a little injury. So Danielle Dubray is now on his own as his pairs stand up. Here we have the Norwegian skater coming in hard to the finish, and the American.
So 1:45.4 for Alexander, which is a great time for him and also a PB. And Emery Lehman of the United States, 1:47.11.
Just off the PB, and here comes Danielle all by himself into the finish. 1:48.62. Here we have Einar on the inner lane and Nick Goplin, and in behind him is Elliot Nelson and Haish Devos.
Nick Goplin made the World Cups, his first World Cup this year in this distance. So let's see if he can pull off that great time that he had at trials.
And he is racing Einar, who is a part of the wrecking crew with Todd McLennan's, and he has come in from Norway to train here at the Olympic Oval at this great facility that has fast ice all year round. So we'll see how these boys pair up against each other.
So you can see both of them sprinting nice and fast. This race, even though it's not quite the pure sprint like Tam and I are used to in the 500 meters, these guys need to pretty much go 95 to 100% that first 300 meters to get up that speed. And Nick with a 23.99. That's a pretty quick 300 meters. You know when they're going that fast that they're going for it.
We'll see if he can hold on to that. Starting off that fast for Nick Goplin is really great for him, but we'll see if he can hold on to it and get a good first lap in and hold on to that time.
Elliot Nelson with a 25.19. He's more of a longer distance specialty, but the 1,500 in that range of a bit longer distance for some people. Let's see if he can pull off a good one here.
This 1,500 meter race is a tough race to do. I only did the 500 and the 1,000 growing up, and I wouldn't have to be forced by my coaches to race the 1,500 meters as it was a good thing to train for. There's a lot more pain in the 1500, so it kind of preps you for that 1,000 meters. But I think the last time I did a 1500 was like 6 years ago, and it's a world of hurt, that one.
We've got a good race here going with the first pair. Both skaters had a 26:42 first lap and a 27:4 and 5 second laps. They're neck and neck, and they are now coming here into the finish. Nick is still looking fairly strong, one arming it all the way in. And with a final time of 1:46.62. So that is a great personal best for Nick.
Good job, Nick. He's celebrating on the backstretch there with his coach, as he's so happy to be finishing off the season on a high note like that. It's so much fun to have a PB race at the end of the season.
Elliot's coming in. You can see a little bit hurt in his legs. This is one of the toughest races out there. He finishes with a 1:52. Nick, of course, is part of Team Crossover, so Brock was over there looking pretty happy seeing that time. I'm sure he will party hard tonight celebrating that finish.
And Haish Devos is coming through with a 1:47.01, which is a PB for him as well.
The ice is nice and fast today. There should be some exciting races coming up. This next race has Magni Notland, who is also from Norway but training here in Calgary with Todd's group, and Alexander from USA on the outside.
Right behind them, we'll have Kamani Griffin and Sam Deckert. And as earlier, Alec Jensen said that Kamani's nickname is KG, so we will refer to him as KG in this race.
It's great to see a lot of international skaters coming here and mixing up the pairs with these Canadian men. It always makes, there's a bigger field of competitive skaters. It always helps to skate even faster.
And you see Ryan Shimiakaro on the backstretch there coaching Kamani Griffin, and we call him Ryan Hawaiian, and he is out there in his shorts as usual, so rocking his normal attire.
Good thing this is an indoor oval. And 24-24 for both skaters in that first 300 meters. They are definitely building up that speed and going for it.
And same with Kamani and Sam. A 23.57 and 23.92 is a really fast start for the 1,500 meters. These boys are getting after it and hopefully going for some PBs and for the top of that podium.
Sam is looking really strong right here. You can see that weight transfer, bring the legs in nice and smooth. These two skaters in the second pair looking fairly good. There's one lap to go. That's where you got to try to hold that technique together, but also just keep those legs moving. Sam was an alternate for the World Cup here in Calgary. You can see him there in that Canada suit, and he's one of the up-and-comer male skaters. I'm sure you'll see a lot of him in the future.
And this American skater, Alexander Oksowitz, coming into the finish with Magna Notland, who is training with Todd McClennans. He finishes off with a 1:49.89, and Alexander Oksowitz with a 1:47.24.
So that's a big PB for the American skater.
Here comes Sam fighting to the end. Sam finishes with a 1:47.64.
That's a big PB for Sam. He's going to be nice and happy.
And this next race, we have Christopher Fiole, who is just coming off his Junior World Championships in China with a few medals around his neck. And he's also had a few PBs this weekend, so we'll see what he's going to do against Thijs Rosen from the Netherlands.
Behind them, we have Siataro from Japan and Eric from Norway. Christopher Fiola is also a mass start specialist, so we'll see him later this afternoon trying to go for that title that he has won a few times, but there's going to be a good field out there skating against him.
He is also an inline skater who competed at the Pan Am Games with Olivier Jean, who we saw earlier in the pairs here. Both originating from inline skating. Well, just Christopher.
So Christopher Fiola with 3 medals at this recent Junior World Championships. So he's coming off a nice high here, trying to reproduce those results and have a fast 1,500 meter.
Christopher Fiole looks like he is on a pretty good race right now. He is chasing down, and had a little slip. He's chasing down that the Netherlands skater there.
And sometimes you'll see those skaters come around the corner with the pair in front of them in view. Sometimes that's just because the start times vary when the gun goes off, but that kind of helps. You can chase down that person, not only your pair, but the people in front of you.
And Eric is wearing an Olympic oval skin suit because he has been training here under Todd McLennan's. Him and a few other Norwegian skaters have come to Calgary to train here, and you can just see them getting better every year and learning new things, and they just have an awesome training group where they're just building off of each other.
Coming hard to the finish, that's the Dutch skater with a 1:45.26. Now that's got to be a PB for him, and 1:48. That is a massive PB for this Dutch skater. I'm sure he is glad he traveled all this way to come here.
And Christopher Viola finishing off a little bit tired, which is a given after the great season that he's already had, and he's just been giving it his all, and it's sometimes hard to come into these last few races and getting some PBs.
And Eric just got a PB by just over 0.3 of a second, so that might not seem like a lot, but in this sport, it sure is. So great race from those 4 skaters. And on the inner, we have Dan Carruthers from Ontario racing against Braden Clothier from BC on the outer.
And we have Inigo coming in from
Spain.
Oh, from Spain here.
Who's been training here in Calgary.
And Mario from Colombia.
So Dan and Braden are training partners.
Oh, there is a little bit of an ice repair, a short delay. We saw that Christopher Viola kind of dug his foot in at one point, and so now they are just fixing the ice. We do have the best ice makers in the world here at the Olympic Oval, and we are very blessed to have these guys making our ice, as they have all the tools and the knowledge to make this ice super speedy. So the skaters will be getting PBs.
Looks like there was just a little crack or hole in that back stretch right before the start, but I think looks like they're off the ice already, and we're ready to go back with that first pair with Dan and Braden.
It's tough as a skater to just be standing there during those delays as you're all warmed up and ready to go with your schedule set out to the minute that you're going to race. So those ice delays sometimes can put a little damper into your race prep. So you need to be mentally prepared for those kind of delays.
Oh, and we have a false start here. So just like those delays, sometimes if you or your partner false starts, you got to reset and get back to the line. But these types of things, ice repairs, delays, false starts, they happen even at the biggest stage of the Olympics. There was a big delay in the Vancouver. I remember my brother Jamie had to kind of refocus his whole plan because there was an extra flood. So learning at these kind of competitions that you got to reset really quickly, even though that plan was laid out probably the night before for most skaters. So here it'll be just a start right away quickly. That was a false start with the red flags. That was the outer on Braden.
And the first false start is a false start to the field, and the second false start will go to, if there's another false start, then it will go to the skater who just false started. We have a clean start, so no disqualifications here, and out goes Dan Carruthers and Braden Clothier. Braden is more of a sprinter, so you'll see a fast start from him, and Dan will be chasing him down on that first outer.
We have an international field here for this second pair of the quad, which should make for an interesting race. Dan and Braden are through the first 300 meters with a high 23.8 for Braden and 24.6 for Dan. So Dan's going to look to close that gap in this race. Dan's girlfriend, Heather McLean, as I'm sure you know, she's been doing awesome on the World Cup tour, but she's still over in Europe, so she wasn't able to make him any baking to get him going this weekend, but it looks like he's doing just fine without that extra support right now.
They'll be able to celebrate with a few cinnamon buns this coming week.
Us too, hopefully.
Here comes Inigo, and he is starting off with a 26.91 first lap, and Dan is looking like he's hurting a little bit here, and Braden is still going strong. Hopefully Dan can have a good corner and there's no crossover problem coming into this next crossover, and it looks like it will be all right. Dan gets a little bit of a draft, which is kind of nice here in this race to finish off with.
So Braden and Dan, you can see that mouth wide open, gasping for air, trying to get all that air and energy in for this last straightaway. 2 arms down for Braden, and Dan is pushing all the way to the line. Let's see what they come in with. Braden finishing his 1500 in a 148.82, and Dan in a 149.26,
which is a PB for both of these boys. So that's exciting to celebrate and finish off the season with a PB.
Tight race for this last pair, and Niejo gets it at the line. 149.48 or 98, which is just off of his PB, unfortunately, but a great skate. You can see Abby Ennis there on the ice. She's been coaching him all year long here in Calgary.
Next up, we have Christian from the Switzerland, and we have Jess Neufeld from Manitoba coming up. Jess has been skating quite awesome this season. He has been improving alongside all his teammates on the wrecking crew. And hopefully he will have a good race and finishing off his season strong.
His sprints have been improving too this year, skating with all those speedy guys in Todd's group. So it's always helpful to have a different range of distances that you specialize in the group, so you can improve on more than just your own.
And here is Ian Quinn and Ole Nass from Norway. This is a tight race. Jess is going to get a nice draft on this backstretch there. That's going to slingshot him into the inner lane there, and he can build off of that. And that is a great thing to have in this 1500 because you kind of need all the help you can get. And even though this is an individual race, there's moments like that that are going to help you out in speed skating.
And Jess with a 23.9 300, that's, if anyone's under that 24 mark, you know you've gone out pretty quick in that first 300 meter, and then it's about holding on to that speed and try not to drop off those lap times too much. Right now he's only 0.33 of a second behind the leader at the 700 meter mark.
And Jess Neufeld has taken on the task of organizing the party bus for the finale. There are 150 people attending the party bus scene, so he has organized that, and we want to do a big shout out to Jess as this is the transportation to the finale party, which is
getting all the skaters there nice and safe.
Greatly looked forward to.
Yes, as this is the last competition this season, there's always that big finale party, so a lot of skaters are happy to be done their season and also to look forward to that party that's happening tonight.
Jess fighting to the finish. Let's see if he gets a PB here. And he finishes with, let's see, a 148.74, which is a PB for him.
Wow, over almost about a second and a half. There's that fist pump and high five to his coach, Tom McClellan's on that backstretch. He has got to be happy with that race.
Ian Quinn with a 150.62, which is off his PB, and Ole Nass with a 151.18.
We have another international pair for this Quartet 9. We're going to start off with Shinsuke from Japan and Kyle from the USA on the outer. And the pair behind them, another Japanese skater, Soichiro, against Lucas Moren of Saskatchewan, who trains with Crispin here in Calgary.
Lucas Moren is the younger brother to Axel Moren, who was a former Olympic oval speed skater, and now he is retired. But Lucas Moren is looking up to fill his brother's shoes here in the 1,500 meters. You want to be nice and relaxed in this race, as you want to conserve as much energy as you can, because it takes all you've got to finish this race. It was a tight start between that second pair and the first. You might see a little bit of overlap with these speed skaters here today.
And a 23.3 for that first pair Japanese skater. That is pretty quick. Let's see if he can hold on to those lap times.
The Japanese are known for their sprintiness, and so Nakamura here is showing that today. Lucas Moren coming in behind the Japanese skater there, getting a little bit of a draft, so slingshot him into that inner corner there. He is fighting. You can see his arm coming off his back a little bit. Sometimes you see skaters who have a rope tied around their waist to kind of hold that left arm into close to their body to stay more aerodynamic. We sometimes call that the chicken wing, when you see that arm coming off.
I definitely had that in my 1,000 meters. And I'm sure if I was trying to do a 1,500 meter, that is one thing that's hard to focus on. But it's those little technical points that your coaches can remind you of, and you can get those nice and sound. That's where those PBs come in. So all four skaters are on their last lap here. Japanese skater coming in with a time of 1:46.97. Now that is a huge PB for him.
And Kyle coming in 1:51.08. And here comes the last two skaters from this quad.
Close race at this, and
the Japanese skater just gets him at the end, 1:51.33, and Lucas Moren with a 1:51.81. Next race here in the 10th quad, we have Tyson from Manitoba and Runar from Norway. And then after that, we have Marcin Gazinski and Espen Nordfund from Norway. Oh, we have Guillaume Labby and Jacob Graham.
In this first pair, Tyson, he's just coming fresh off of his first Junior Worlds appearance. He's coached by Tyler Dare, who Tamara and I have both had the pleasure of being a teammate to, and so that's very exciting for him in starting out his career, both skater and coach.
Tyler here, he trains outdoors in Winnipeg, so to come indoors here is such a nice treat for them. A lot of those outdoor skaters that are just coming as juniors to Calgary have a little bit of extra grit because they are so used to the cold and all the other factors that kind of come into it, like the wind. Me and Jess grew up training on outdoor ice, and I would say that has a big benefit to making you a little tougher out there on this ice, as there's a lot more glide and you don't have the wind or chill factor coming into it.
And the second pair is Jacob Graham, who skated a very fast 500-meter personal best recently. So we'll see. He's going to try to get out there nice and fast with that 23.93 and just try to hold on as much as he can.
Here these skaters are coming in after their first lap. And Tyson with a 26.98 and Runar with a 26.36. Those are both quite fast laps right now, so we're going to see a couple of fast skaters here in this pair.
Some sprinters have the strategy to just go out as hard as they can and just see where they can hold on, try to get that easy speed. Sometimes it works out, and sometimes it makes for a very difficult second and last lap. I know Tamara and I have both experienced what that feels like, and it's not too much fun, but sometimes you just got to risk it all to see how fast you can go.
There's a lot of hurt in the legs. You can just see them trying to push to the side and not push back so they can maintain that speed that they created in that first lap. Here they come fighting to the end. There they are. Tyson and Runar finishing up. Runar with a 1:47.91.
Which is a huge PB, and same for Tyson. So great race for both of those boys.
Here comes Jacob Graham fighting for the finish. He's had a lot of races this weekend, and he's had a lot of great PBs. With a 154.0 for Jacob Graham, and for Guillaume Laby, it's 151.38.
Both PBs for those skaters as well, so we're seeing some great races from all of these skaters here today.
Jacob Graham winning the 500 meters just a few days ago with a time of 34.9, which is awesome for this young skater to have. Next up, we have Martin Gazinski and Espen Nordfund. Martin is an older skater. He used to skate a few years back with the Oval program, and then he moved to Holland and did some marathons.
Racing for Poland, yeah. And now he is a massage therapist who has worked with SSC, and he decided to make a little bit of a comeback for the mass start race. So we have him here training in Calgary by himself. And we'll see what he can do. Writing his own training plans and still working on the side. So this 1,500 meters is probably more than a warm-up, of course, but that mass start is kind of what made him make that comeback. And so hopefully we'll see some good things from him later this afternoon.
And this Henrik Riki, which is the brother of Christopher Riki, just started his race. And Alexander Zamatsky is right along beside him. A 23.96 for Henrik. That is a great opener. He is quite the sprinter, and so you will probably see a little bit of hurt in the legs from Henrik at the end of this. He also just came back from his Junior World Championships in China. He is a tall dude.
In the second pair, that first skater is going to be going over the top. But this first pair, they're neck and neck. Martin's going to have to make up a little bit of room here. He's got that inner corner, but then that last outer where he's going to make sure he has to keep those feet moving. So Espen's got a little bit of a draft behind Martin and that last.
Chasing him down, trying to get that baby blue suit and pass him.
And Martin and Espen are racing hard. Martin's working hard, getting those pushes in, keeping that tempo up, striving to the line. And his final time is a 152.58. Just a little bit off his PB. Espen with 152.60. That is just off his PB as well. Henrik and Alexander coming to the finish here. Henrik with a 3-second PB. He's got to be happy with that. His coach is giving him a nice big high five on the back stretch there. Big smiles for him.
And we just got word that the air pressure is dropping slowly, but this is the fastest we have seen all weekend. So the ice is fast. This is normal speed for us, but this is the fastest environment conditions we have seen this weekend.
Which makes sense because a lot of these boys are getting some PBs, which should make for an exciting morning and afternoon here at the Oval. This first pair in this second last quartet, we have Simon
Kroken
from Norway on the inner and Antoine Roger from Quebec on the outer. Behind them, starting shortly, is Xander Mark from the United States and Anders Fernie from Norway. Some skaters choose to do that down start with their hand on the ice. They get that nice low position and explode from there, whereas a lot of skaters do that traditional start, both feet on the ice, standing up.
So we still have Rosen at the top of the leaderboard with a 145.26, and Wagner's with a 145.20, and Ben Donnelly from Canada with 145.68. We have an American skater skating here up against a Norwegian, and in the second pair in the first pair, and in the next one we have a Quebec skater and a Norwegian up against each other. And Anthony Roger probably coming off of Junior Worlds here in China. All right, the American skater coming up ahead here, getting that bell lap. We see the leg angle has come up a little bit here, and that is because of the fatigue here in the 1,500 meters. It's hard to keep that 90-degree leg angle. The Canadian skater fighting to the end against the Norwegian. It was a tight finish. Seaman with a 151.79.
That's a cute big PB for him. And Antoine with another big PB. So great race for those two.
Here comes Xander and Anders. 151.85 for Xander.
So that's another PB for him. 3 PBs in this last race. Now we're coming up to the last quartet of this first half of the guys. After this quartet, there will be an ice preparation and many more male 1,500 meter skaters to go. But in this first pair, we have a Norwegian skater, Terji, on the inner, and Japanese Ryota on the outer. Behind them,
we have Haish Black from Canada, who has skated many races this weekend, as he just finished a 10K yesterday and a 5K previous to that, where he did get a PB in his 5K and I believe in his 10K as well.
And Christian from Norway on the outer against Hamish.
Haish Black is a long-distance skater, but he is training with many men who are a little bit faster, so he's working on those fast twitch muscles in his body where he will be able to improve. Oh, and we see our first false start of the morning. They will have to wait until the skaters go by, so they kind of have to get out of the way before these skaters come around this second corner.
So this first pair is around that corner. And I believe they will just wait to start this next race when these two finish. There's always need a little time to reset the legs and that mental focus for the next start. So we'll see this first pair coming in, the two of them through that first lap, a 27.42 for the Japanese skater and a 27.92 for the Norwegian. Even in the 1,000 meters for us, that last lap is a tough one, so I can only imagine the pain they're feeling in this 1,500 meters. It takes a lot of hours in that down position and training to be able to deal with that lactic acid and that burning feeling in order to hold that technique and keep those legs moving.
Even just to convince yourself to race this 1,500 meters takes a lot, and it's a lot of mental grit that you need for this race.
These boys doing a pretty good job keeping their arm swing going, their foot speed up. You can see the fatigue is setting in a little bit. Their position is coming up a little, but they are coming now into the finish. Japanese skater having pretty high frequency, and he crosses the line in a 152.43, which is a personal best for him, and the Norwegian with a 155, which is just off of his time.
Now we have that second pair starting off solo, and so Haish Black on the inner and Christian on the outer from Norway. Haish Black is new to the speed skating world just by a few years. He started skating a little bit of short track and in BC, and then he came over to Canada, and he's had a few coaches over here. He is now currently with Todd McClennan's, and he is improving drastically every time he hits the ice. He's a super motivated young skater, and we're going to see him going into Korea in these next few years, training up for that.
And he likes those long distances, that 10K, which we couldn't even imagine completing, but some people are built for that long distance. You can see his nice skinny legs that can keep moving for long periods of time.
He's got that aerobic capacity from cross-country skiing, and that's a pretty tough sport in itself, so he's got that mental toughness that you need for speed skating as well.
Unlike the sprinters, he will be going out nice and steady. His first 300 meters might not be the quickest, but he's going to try to keep those laps nice and even with little drop off and try to finish nice and strong into the finish.
Here we have Christian with a 28.48 and Hamish with a 28.40. So Hamish is building up that speed, and you'll probably see him keep building this entire race. You see him pumping that arm just to keep his leg speed up. He's chasing down his pair, Christian.
1 lap to go for these skaters. They've just got to keep those feet moving, and Hamish, it's going to be close on that crossover, but Hamish was able to have a good corner. His pair was able to draft on him, which helps so much.
And he hits that cone. That would be an automatic DQ going into that corner, unfortunately, for Haish Black. But we'll see here if he has the capability of still finishing off with what would be a PB. 1:54.91 for Hamish, which is off of his PB. And same with Christian, 1:54.01.
Unfortunately, those pucks and those pylons are set on the very inside of the track, and so if you do hit them with your skates, you are unfortunately disqualified, which we've seen happen at high stages with Christina Groves, and in Vancouver, that 1,500 meters, she hit one of those going in and unfortunately was disqualified. So it's good to learn early on. You want to be as tight to that track as possible, but sometimes that unfortunate event will happen.
Yep. And next up, we just have an ice preparation here, so we'll have a quick break, and we'll come back with many more 1,500-meter men as we have quite the start list going on here.